On today's episode of the Outlet Podcast, we'll be discussing Rachel Dolezol, and I'll be issuing out some advice, some dating advice on my new segment, Q&A, called Adapters. You are listening to the Outlet Podcast. Connect and recharge. Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Outlet Podcast. I'm your electrician, SayGeizi, and it's a pleasure to actually have you listening to this podcast, this episode, this series. Let me let you know, I just want to make this shorter, but because you can find me on Outlet Podcast if you just search on all of the various social media. You can find me on Twitter at Outlet Podcast, Facebook.com/Outlet Podcast. On YouTube, that's where I archive most of my videos. If you choose to listen to my content via YouTube, it's right there. And I'm actually exploring some possible vlogging. I'm possibly going to vlog. There you go. I said it. The ladies are going wild, everybody. Ladies are going wild. People are laughing. Crowd is cheering. Yeah, everybody. So I might vlog. I got to figure that out. But for now, a lot of my archived stuff is going to be on YouTube. I also have everything being archived on Stitcher Radio. If you download the Stitcher Radio app, if that's the way you'd love to choose to subscribe to the RSS feed and listen to the show. Or if you're an Apple's person and you got the iPhone, the iPad, and iMac, you can find me on iTunes. Just search Outlet Podcast, as well as SoundCloud. I love to do my Sparkplugs episodes using the SoundCloud app, because I'm live and I'm right there, and boom, I can just upload it straight from my phone. The SoundCloud app, you just search you can search Outlet-Podcast or Outlet Podcast on SoundCloud.com. My WordPress blog is being updated constantly, so that's pretty cool. Outletpodcast.wordpress.com. And you can email me on Facebook or on the show's email, outletpodcast@yahoo.com. So there's a whole lot of news, everybody, that I want to talk about. It's pretty still relevant. This person, if you've, just like I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, in the introduction, we're going to be talking about Rachel Dolezol. If you haven't heard about her, if you haven't seen her, just wait. When she came out with her explanation, I felt it was disrespectful to the transgender community. I don't understand the transgender community completely. I just understand. I want to say I understand people being, love your neighbor. Just, love your neighbor as, love your neighbor as yourself. Do unto others as they shall have them, as you would want them to do to you. That's what I was told when I read the Bible, when I read the Bible. So I might not understand the community in certain aspects. I might not believe certain arguments they might have, but to kind of disrespect an actual serious issue in regards to someone who might have if someone's like a hermaphrodite, or if they were born away and they're questioning because their body has, it's a big issue. I can't even create a scenario where I can defend, where I can articulate an argument. That's something that's very intimate. And I feel that Rachel Dolezol is kind of capitalizing or misusing Caitlyn Jenner's crisis. Now, I feel that if Bruce Jenner had this entirely throughout his life, then he should not have, entered into fatherhood, entered into a holy matrimony. I think that's wrong. I mean, if you want to do you, then do you, but don't bring others down when you're trying to do you. You know, now so many people need to find some kind of closure with something that you haven't even closed the door on for yourself. You know, they might not have a problem. The Kardashian family, they got tons of money, but well, either way, they still might have problems. But I just feel that it's disrespectful for young boys who've been born with female organs. And they're trying to identify. They're trying to just choose. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to choose a way to live because biologically it didn't come out that way. And for this person, Rachel Dolezol, to use their particular argument, I feel it's disrespectful to that community. You know, hey, yeah, I'm a Christian, and I'm speaking about this. You know, in this respect, I really feel bad for the transgender community, and I hope what comes out of in regards to Rachel Dolezol, and I guess possible judgments or whatever, that they might be principles, and they might be events where we can kind of move on as a nation and decide what is, you know, foolish and fictitious. I mean, you can have whatever opinion you want, but that doesn't mean it's right. And we as a nation, we're all different people. We're coming from different backgrounds, but we need consensus. We need to be with one. I was describing in the Spark Plugs episode, you know, when I was trying to parallel park, and I found an interesting allegory to parallel parking in life. Parallel park, you know, position yourself so that you're not obstructing others, so that the flow of traffic might continue. There's some people who park terribly, and they're disrupting the flow of traffic. They're the ones who cause accidents. They're the ones who, you know, now there's a backed up line because you got to get the police involved and you got to switch insurances and all that. There are people in life who make bad decisions, who have offensive viewpoints, and they just obstruct. And it's not beneficial to no one, because there is we're all trying to move towards some kind of goal of harmony, of unity. Listen, I might not believe what you believe. I don't want you to tell me how to believe what I believe. I feel that's disrespectful as Americans. I'm not preaching here as far as the gospel that was sent to me by the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm trying to move forward in this country. You know what I'm saying? So let's get into this Rachel Dolezol debacle. Okay, everyone. So, let me actually describe her to you. Dolezol has been many things, as well as a civil rights leader, a teacher, an artist, a hairstylist, and a mother. Sound good? Because it is good. As a person, if I were to describe this person to you with these words, just as I did, if I were to describe this person to you even further with various other characteristics and whatnot, I think we would all be on the same page to say, wow, this person's not that bad. I actually agree with all the things that they're doing. Now, let's go further. I'm reading from the CNN website about a report that was done about this individual. Dolezol stepped down as the head of the Spokane chapter of the NAACP. She says she identifies as black. Her parents say she's white, just like them. Now, the Lincoln County, Montana birth certificate provided by her parents says Rachel Ann Dolezol was born November 12, 1977. Her parents are listed as Ruth Ann and Lawrence Dolezol, both of whom are white. That means Rachel Dolezol is white, right? Not if you ask her. While it's not been corroborated, she claimed on NBC. There were no medical witnesses to my birth. She pointed out the discrepancy between the time of her birth when her birth certificate was filled 7 weeks later. I haven't had a DNA test, she added. There has been no biological proof that Larry and Ruth Ann are my parents. Stop right there. How dare you? They're your parents. Now, I don't care really what kind of way you're trying to live your life. I mean, you want to live your life, then live your life the way you want to. However, these are the parents who've raised you, who've taken care of you, who love you regardless of whatever decisions you might have. And you choose to disrespectfully call them out by their first name. Now, that might sound bad. It might sound like a foolish viewpoint. Oh, they just, Geizi, she called, why do you think that it's because they called her, she called them out by their first names? Your parents are always your parents. And there's a sub context within when she goes and says, there's no biological proof that Larry and Ruth Ann are my biological parents. You're going down a dirty and dusty road, probably by yourself. Because even the worst person would never call their parents by their first names. Just referring to them as just strangers, as some random people who just came into life, and created your life. It's like, oh, can you do this by yourself, Rachel? That does not sit well with me. Larry, her father, goes off to say, we do not understand why she feels it's necessary to misinterpret her ethnicity. Now, she has gone, if you look her up, you'll see someone who is, if I were to just tell you that she was all these things, a civil rights leader, the head of the Spokane chapter of the NAACP, you might assume, as well as I did, that she was African American. If you find that I'm being racist, oh, you're judging, you automatically assume. Well, come on. I would assume that anybody who's going for, the NAACP, I would assume first off that they were African American. You can kind of tell by certain names, because if you tell me there's a Josh, well, I assume, unless I assume certain things until more evidence is provided otherwise. That's how we all work. We need more more clues towards identification. That's how we all are. Some people are more vocal about it at first. That's where foolishness comes in, guys. Reserve. Keep your mouth closed. Get all the information that you can in, process it, and then make a decision. So I assumed that she was African American until I saw the picture, and I was like, well, I've never seen an African American like that before, I guess. I mean, there are biracial African American, there are biracial people, so whatever. Okay, never mind. I'm gonna move along with the rest of my day, right? No. Why? Because it was revealed to me that she's white. Now, that is not to say that white people cannot have a position in the NAACP. There have been many white Americans who have stepped and bridged the gap in that era. White people as well as Hispanics, as possibly some other cultures, other races, I'm not sure. But I know that there were other minorities and white people who believed in the civil rights movement, who also suffered. And that's great. And they should be applauded for being civil rights, defenders of that. I agree with that. Why Rachel Dolezol went to the degree that she did, with the hair, with the makeup. Why? Now let's go further, because she also has attended African American universities. Let's go. In other words, Rachel Dolezol claims to have seen herself as black rather than white from an early age. So now identifying as black means that she's being true to herself, not trying to pretend to be something she's not. Still, she said her path has been harder from having been socially conditioned to be limited to whatever biological identity was thrust upon me, as she says. According to Dolezol's LinkedIn page, she graduated magna cum laude from Belhaven University in Jackson, Mississippi. It's not, I'm not disrespecting the accolades or the work that she's doing. That was good. However, why did you feel you need to identify yourself as black? What I mean, you can, there's something called Stockholm Syndrome. And in Stockholm Syndrome, from what I've gathered, it's you having mercy upon the people who have captured you. Like after a long time, you begin to sympathize with your captors. You know, there are many in America. It's sad to say that there are many people who have identified themselves as, you know, radical Islamists, and then they go to like these radical groups in the Middle East. They go to those groups, and I don't think they survive that long, because listen, you can pretend all you want, but you know, just because you say you believe in these radical ideas doesn't mean that they'll accept you. It doesn't. Why did she feel that she needed this? I don't know. She's quoted that she was socially conditioned to be limited to whatever biological identity was thrust upon her. Listen, I grew up in the ghetto. I grew up in, I grew up in government housing for a large portion of my life. Have I ever identified myself to the cultures and the races that were around me? No, because I knew my race. I knew my culture. Now, I don't know how it is if you're white, you know, if you're of, I find it wrong to say white, just because, like, if you're not white is a color. You are either English or Finnish, or might have some French or Celtic. That's where your descendancy is from. That's where your lineage. I think people who we call white probably have a great history, but because when you say white, you think American, then you forget about your heritage, and that's really sad. I mean, just because your heritage has been so Americanized to think that white is a standard in America, just because you're losing out, that you can't trace your family. I've always kind of envied white people in that regard. The commercials for Ancestry.com would show up, and I would go to the website and I would try to actually do it. And I didn't get any. Well, number one, I didn't really want to pay like the $100 or the $50. I don't remember, but I didn't want to pay the money. I was like trying to get well, let me see where my heritage comes from. I didn't get anywhere, guys. You know where my heritage comes from? Well, obviously my mother's from Puerto Rico and my father's from Costa Rica. If you know Spanish countries, there's a possibility that either you are a native to that place, I don't want to call them the natives of that place. In Puerto Rico, the Taino Indians. In Costa Rica, I don't think the Aztec Empire stretched all the way to Costa Rica, or possibly the Incans. Whatever the case is, either my either I have roots in the Taino Indians or the Spanish that went from Spain to Puerto Rico, or same thing with my father's in Costa Rica. Either I have the native heritage from Costa Rica, or goes back to Spain. Right? That's where my ancestry.com stops, guys. It's real fun. Yeah, it's awesome, right? No, I don't find pleasure in it at all. How dare you? No, I don't even know what my coat of arms is. So I kind of envy. I wish my heritage, as far as knowing my genealogy, I wish I can do that better, but I can't. I think people, if you're white in America, you should know where you come from, because that is actually a part of who you are. The reason why Hispanics have just such a rich heritage is because I know where I come from. I know what I eat. I know my heritage. I know my lineage. I know where I go back to. To just say that, America, and then you throw in all these stereotypes of the foods and whatnot. How about you go back and look at your history? So I'm not sure that Rachel Dolezol wants to acknowledge that. If she suffers from this idea of Stockholm syndrome, where poor black, if she suffers from this whole overly sympathetic, I hate white people for what they did to black people all these years, and I'm just going to side with the black people. It's like, you're really being racist in that. You're really being a racist, because black people, if you were, African Americans, they don't need that kind of, I wouldn't want that sympathy. Like, you feel sorry for me? How dare you? Don't feel sorry for me and my community. Me and my community will be just fine without you. Me and my community might have problems, but we within ourselves will figure it out. And, I'm not saying that she could not have been a blessing, because obviously she was a blessing at doing civil rights, being a civil rights leader, being a teacher. And she she graduated magna cum laude from Belhaven University in Jackson, Mississippi. That's not an easy thing to do. Now, I've heard, let's continue on in the research. While there, she says she petitioned for the first annual celebration of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Day and developed the first African American history course on campus. Sounds great. Dolezal also says she tutored kids and taught drawing. From Mississippi, she moved to Washington, D.C. to attend Howard University. This is where things get weird. Rachel didn't identify herself as black on the Howard application because there was no such option, but people there may have assumed as much because her portfolio of art was all African American portraiture. Her mother said. She ended up graduating with a Master of Fine Arts degree, Howard University. But her time at the historically black college wasn't all smooth. Let's go. In fact, she sued Howard University for discrimination against her as a white woman. So, apparently you can choose if you're black or you're white when it's a convenience to you. Apparently, you can take the makeup off when it's of assistance to you. See, that's what I feel that the African American community doesn't appreciate. It's not that they don't appreciate your civil rights work. It's not that they might applaud your efforts for, going to, graduating magna cum laude in Belhaven in Jackson, Mississippi, or going to Howard University. That's not bad. But it's when you pick and you choose. Today I'm Bruce Jenner. Tomorrow I'm Caitlyn. Today I'm Bruce. Tomorrow I'm Caitlyn. You know what you're being disrespectful to the people who really have a problem. There are actual kids with the Rachel Dolezal issue. There are biracial kids, maybe triracial kids, or quadracial, I don't know, who struggle. They don't know how or to whom they should identify. These kids, they make fun of, I've heard very derogatory terms of when when a white person, will get married with an African American person and they have a child, some people, I've heard the teasing that people would make of that light-skinned dude, the light-skinned black person, the light-skinned kid. That's not right. And those kids are going through issues, and now that it's just convenient to you, let's look at it. In 2002, she sued for discrimination, which would have been about the time her biological son, Franklin, was born. Specifically, she alleged that the decision to remove some of her artwork from a student exhibition was motivated by discriminatory desire to favor black students over her. So, Hitler, everything goes back to Hitler, doesn't it? But yeah, Hitler didn't like, Hitler was an artist too, and some people didn't like his artwork, and I don't think that's what turned him, to do the crazy things that he did. But for you to sue the university that you're attending because you feel that someone else's artwork has been favored over yours, that just shows me insecurity. Like, how insecure are you that it's like she's saying, you're making fun of me because I don't identify that much. Well, I'm going to take my ball and go home. I'll show you. It's really foolish. The lawsuit, guess what? It was dismissed. So some would say that she's in blackface, blackface is very derogatory. Blackface is very, it's a racist move. Somewhere you just, you paint your face as black. I remember watching the cartoons back when I grew up in the Looney Tunes era, and they would kind of do blackface. I remember seeing cartoons like that where the character would have, their face painted black and, big huge lips, and just the racist idea of what black people look like. And now I'm realizing how bad it was back in the day. But that's what blackface is. And she said, and some people are saying it's a kind of slap into the face to African Americans because she doesn't know what it's like to be black, says Ezra, whose biological mother is white and whose father is partially black or partly black. She's only been African American when it benefited her. She hasn't been through all the struggles. She's only been African American the last 2 years. She says, I also don't put on blackface as a performance. So recently, she's taken a stance of using Caitlyn Jenner's argument. Now, while I don't agree with the precedent that Bruce Jenner has tried to establish, I don't agree at all. And I don't agree because I feel that, let's see, I don't agree that you made the decision and at the worst possible time. We all make mistakes, and we all do. So I'm not going to say that was wrong, but it was so long. You had kids, you got married. I still value marriage. I still value the institution. It says a lot. Now that gay marriage is out, I still value the institution. Imagine a gay dude who's been divorced 5 times, or a heterosexual person who's been divorced 5 times. You know what that tells me? That person's kind of that person got problems, like severe. Like, you just get married just to get married, or do you think you're falling in love all the time? And you, like, it speaks. It speaks about yourself. If you like get married and, you know, you make that commitment and then you just back out, that's just so weak, man. I don't venerate that at all. So, and, you know, one of the other reasons why I kind of don't agree with the Caitlyn Jenner, I mean, number one, let me just say, I'm not infringing, I wouldn't infringe on her right to do as she pleases with her body. All right. You know, I hope that I hope that the surgeries, I mean, you don't have to do the surgery, but I hope for your sake that your body's okay, you know, that you can still have a happy, mobile life. You know, these are questions that I never had to deal with before in my life, but there are actual people, kids who are born, their bodies are a certain way, but the way they act is completely different. A boy is born with female genitalia, you know, only one. You know, the boy might have breasts and still have, you know, the genitalia of a boy, and it's like, what do I do? I can't even fake the arguments. I can't even, like, right now in this segment, I don't even, my mind is blown. I don't even know what to say. We gotta throw support, and, you know, for the sake of that person having a nice, having a normal, whatever normal might be, but for them to have a prosperous life, maybe help that kid. The kid says, okay, I'm going to decide to be this. Well, you know, you support that and you kind of follow through with that for the sake of uniformity, for the sake of balance. And I just kind of feel that Caitlyn doesn't, that's not a struggle that she might have. Now, having said this, I think Rachel Dolezal is a total clown. I think it's unbelievably foolish, unbelievably racist, disrespectful to the transgender community. Even though I don't support Caitlyn Jenner's, precedent, not the person, just the precedent. Though I don't support the precedent, I don't support, making fun of that argument that she proposed. I think that's just dishonorable and disingenuous. Like Bruce Jenner, whatever his sexual identity might be, I think it's wrong that you just piggyback off of someone's struggles and try to make that your soapbox. Like you're a white woman. How dare you? And you're very prosperous. You went to Howard. It's not even the level of education and privilege that you have. Not many people have, and you're just bastardizing it. It's just a joke because of of how you choose to identify. Who are you trying to impress? You could have been this. You could still be the leader of the civil rights of the Spokane chapter of the NAACP as a white woman. Why do you feel the need to have mercy towards a populace, towards a people that aren't looking for your mercy? They're not looking for that sympathy. As a Hispanic, I'm not looking for someone don't come into my race and try to sympathize. We don't need you. We're quite fine, and we know who we are as a people. I'm not Mexican. I'm, Puerto Rican from my mother's side, and I'm Costa Rican from my father's. We're all Hispanic, though. We're all Latin. We're all cool. We all know each other. We know who we are. We don't need handouts. So why did Rachel Dolezal, why did she choose to do this? I don't know. I think the woman has issues. And I think she needs some prayer, because, you know, there's just a lot of issues going on with that young lady, or old lady. Actually, she is a little old. She was born in 1977. Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah. All right. So you guys, this next segment is actually something much lighter, something more fun. Yeah, something a lot better. The ladies are going crazy because guess what? I'm going to start talking about relationships. Let's go into the adapters segment, Q&A. Okay, you guys, so I have been, you know, pushing the idea of just, hey, send me emails, tweet at me, throw some pictures on the Facebook page. You know, I'll like them, I'll share them. The interaction. I'm definitely all about the interaction, not just between my brothers and sisters in Christ who might be listening, but also for yourself. If you're not a believer but you enjoy the show, let's talk. Why not? So I was reached out not too long ago by a person who will remain anonymous, a fan of the show, and they sent me an email, and they wanted to know they wanted advice about being in a good relationship, how to start one and how to maintain one. So in this segment, I'm titling it Adapters Q&A. So this person, they were kind of vague with the content, as you know, they just wanted to know about being in a good relationship and how to start and maintain one. So I reached out to my wife of 1 year and 8 months. We're gonna go on 2 years in March. So actually, yeah, I'm going to do that. There we go. Yeah, there you go. Get the crowd going in there. So I reached out to my wife and I asked her opinion. She didn't want to come live on the show, but that's okay. That's all right. It's fine. But my wife issued out some, you know, I guess I'll riff off of what she told me. She told me to be in a good relationship and to start and maintain one, you know, you need to keep God first. Pray and don't play around. And by don't play around, date around with no purpose. So I'll riff off of that for her sake. She's saying, keep God first. As a Christian, that's something that you, regardless of dating or not, you need to keep God first. You know, love the Lord your God with all of your heart, your mind, and your soul. The Old Testament says strength. The New Testament says soul. There's a reason I won't go into, because I was reading scriptures a lot and I was like, wow, New Testament says soul, and back then it says strength. You know, it's because my strength is weak. I'm limited with my strength. But my Lord, Jesus Christ, He is my strength. So I can love God with the strength of my Lord, of Christ. So if I just love my Father in heaven with all of my heart, with all of my soul, with all of my mind, then there you go. But Jesus will be my strength. When I'm weak, then I am truly strong, as the Apostle Paul wrote. So you got to keep God first. I'll go into keeping God first, but she says, you know, keep your eyes on Him, and you need to pray. Praying is maintaining a relationship with God. You're constantly talking to Him. You're constantly letting our eternal Father, you're letting Him know, even though some people might count it foolish. Why are you praying? You know, doesn't God know everything that's on your mind already? So why you need to tell Him? Well, you need that. You need that interaction. You need that as a human being. We can always theorize about why you do this, why do that. you need to go through the motions. You know, there are people who play, for example, they'll be playing FIFA 2015, the soccer game. Just because you're good playing the soccer game doesn't mean you're good on the field. You need to be on the field. You need to actually sweat. You need to actually, you know, come home with, you know, having cramped up in your legs. You need to come home, you know, you need to buy the clothes. You need that interaction. So that communication illustrated through soccer, that communication is what you need to have with God. God you know, He's the creator. He created everything around us. He's given us wisdom for us to utilize what He created in the various things that we have today. We've created a whole lot of cool stuff based off of what He's given us. You know, everything, all creation is by Him. And, you know, He's given us that wisdom, like I said, to just, you know, we have plastics, which is something not found in nature at all. We have plastics, you know, we have all these other things. So you know, that's something that I believe you treat Him as God. And when you're able to cultivate a relationship with Him, you know what to look for in a relationship in general. When you treat God with respect, you know, because He is holy. He doesn't tolerate sin. Like if God said, don't steal. Thou shalt not steal. If you go around stealing stuff, you're dishonoring Him. So how can you stand in His presence having stolen? Now, I won't get into that debate, but stealing is wrong. You can't stand before a holy God as an unholy person. Now, Jesus Christ forgave all your sins, you know, but you still have, now that you know that Jesus forgave your sins, and you accepted that, well, you, just like Jesus said after he was with the woman that they caught in adultery, He said, go and sin no more. Don't do it again. You know, so there you go. I mean, that's about when you're praying, that's what it is. You're communicating with God. You spend time down on your knees and you speak to Him. Everything that He's put in you, you tell Him back. All the experiences that you've gone through with Him by your side, you recognize and you say, God, I want to thank You for waking me up and keeping me safe. I want to thank God today because there was a shooting near the church I was in where we were holding a missions conference. You know, it's kind of scary these days because, you know, any person who might not be right in the head just goes into a church and starts shooting, you know. So it's kind of scary there. And God kept me safe. See, I tell Him that and I say thank you and I appreciate it. And she also said, don't play around. When you date with the purpose, there's a reason why you're dating. You just don't get involved in someone's life and then you just leave. Let me go into my explanations, because her point about not playing around really means a lot, and it carries a lot of I guess the word can be portents. It's very important. Dating isn't a relationship. Dating is not a relationship. It's two different things. Dating is the act of getting to know a different person of the opposite sex. Guys, I'm Christian. Please just accept this. You know, the act of getting to know a different person of the opposite sex with a goal to express interest solely towards that person. You're trying to go towards exclusivity, but you don't need to be super exclusive. I've gone on tons of dates. Dating was awesome. It was very fun. You know, you get to know so many different people. It's a great time. You get to know yourself and the kind of person that you want to be with. Because, you know, you date one girl and you're like, okay, I don't like that, so I don't want that in my future. Even though she's really pretty, you begin to see certain things. Okay, maybe physical beauty weighs less in regards to this, or this in regards to that. So you begin to notice different things. Dating is you go to different locations. You go dating you go maybe see a movie, maybe you go shopping. I mean, actually going to the mall with the girl on a first date, that's pretty cool, because you begin to see where they like to shop and why they like to shop there. Even going to like the food court and just saying, why do you want to go here? And I haven't dated in a long time. I just put that game away. That's a Monopoly board that I just put away. I didn't need it anymore. I don't play the game anymore. I don't need the game. But it's going to different locations, being new. There's a relief. There's a sense of liberty when you're dating. You share superficial layers of truth and conversation with this other person. You're not trying to bog the other person down. You just go over the surface. What do you like? Why do you like that? Tell me more about X, Y, and Z. What are your goals? What college are you go to? Hey, tell me what you think about this. Tell me what you think about that. Try not to go into politics. That's crazy. Tell me, do you have a favorite sports team? Why? Oh man, really? You like these guys? I wonder why. Oh man, they stink. What? Yeah, they stink. Your team stinks. See, that's what it's all about. It's superficial conversation, because you need to see if they're willing to continue on in that superficiality of truth. It's still truth, but it's not the profound truth. It's dating. You're not trying to get married off of one date. All right. So, because relationships, they're two different things, dating and relationships. A relationship is a result of having dated, where exclusivity and purpose take precedent. And when I say they take precedent, they take precedent. They are unbelievably, it's very serious. When you're in a relationship with someone, the dedication towards each other is oriented towards the next step, engagement. Now, you can be in a relationship with somebody for a while, but in the Christian perspective, it does not seem fruitful in any way for you to date somebody without an ultimate goal. Like, I knew some people that are just dating for, if you're not a Christian, you might, if you're not a Christian, you might have certain practices. You might not believe in abstinence. That's the way you would want to choose to live your life, and that's cool. But let me ask you, in general, you have had sex with this person for, maybe you had sex like 10 times or 15 times with random other, not sex, but other things that y'all were doing together. Do you want to marry that person? Do you want that person, like, when I say you want that person in your life, how much longer do you want them in your life? Could that person be your, could that person be your husband? Would that girl want to be the mother of your children? You see, I can't help but come from the Christian perspective, because it's very safe. Man, it's very logical. Man, even though we might have the stereotype of being prudish, we're responsible with our hearts. You only have one heart. The Bible says, guard your heart above all else, for out of it spring the matters of life. I guard my heart like a ninja, baby. I guard my heart like a ninja. You have to take care of your heart, because if you're off sharing yourself over and over with so many people, you begin to be, you are a puzzle. We're all puzzles. And if you give away pieces, you're never going to be complete. I mean, you're trying to, fix the puzzle. We all are. We're trying to fix ourselves to see what that big picture is. Day by day, we're trying to fit pieces together. And if you're just sharing if you're giving pieces away to so many other people, then you're never going to be complete. Watch yourself. I'm not preaching to you, but I'm telling you, you're very important. Take care of yourself. Don't be sleeping. Don't sleep around. Don't give yourself away. Guys, have a little bit of integrity. You don't need to give yourself to like that girl, she's just touching your abs just because she wants one thing. Girls want one thing just as much as guys might want one thing. And it's like, is that what you want in a partner for the rest of your life? This is my perspective, guys. There's a more profound truths are shared in relationships. You begin, instead of being superficial, you might talk about your fears. You might, in a relationship, you might talk about your childhood. Listen, you don't scare your date by saying you were abused when you were a kid. Yikes! That might not be Starbucks conversation topics. It might not be. You don't want that look either. Not at first. If you're trying to date someone and be in a relationship with somebody, don't scare them away with heavy stuff. All right? Be truthful, but there's a time and a place for everything. So that in a relationship, families get involved. That girl, she meets your parents. You meet her parents. You meet the family. Listen, it is real. You marry the family when you're with the girl. You don't just marry the girl. I was stuttering right there. Yeah, so I've had to get to know my suegros, my parents-in-law. They've had to get to know me. My wife's, my sisters-in-laws. My wife had to know my sisters. Jeez, So families get involved. It gets serious. There's a consensus that's being established day by day, and it's all pushing towards one moment, marriage. So, and goals and dreams are intermingled in relationships. If you have a goal, let's say, let's take a girl named Jan and Joe. Jan might want to go to the Marines, and she might want to make a career from being in the armed forces. And Joe might be Joe might be a musician. Now they've been dating for a long time, and they decided to commit themselves into a relationship. Now they're in a relationship. Things get serious. Now, Jan is back. Jan is back from her first tour of duty or whatnot, and she might re-enlist to go back for another tour. And Joe might have a relatively good YouTube presence, and might be selling CDs, and might be going and doing shows at the local pubs and bars in the downtown area. Well, you can only do you for so long until you have to do us. You have to come to a consensus. What is Jan gonna do? What is Joe gonna do? They want to be together, and until they, one says, yes to the big question, will you marry me? There has to be a consensus. Well, would you leave what you don't have to stop what you're doing, but that conversation needs to come into play. That conversation comes into play, not in dating, guys, in an actual relationship. So to plan and start, my plan to start and maintain a relationship is allow God to reveal to yourself who you really are. You need to know your identity. If you don't know who you are, why you do the things you do, you need to know, because it will make you more secure in who you are. Well, I know I'm this person, I'm this kind of person, and the Lord has shown me that I am faithful in this and that. You know yourself, your identity, like you know your social security number, like you know your address, you know your phone number, you know these things. These are things that you know. When you know yourself, girls love that. Girls don't want a man who isn't secure about their identity. You know, being this wishy-washy, fictitious lover, like you're so random. No. Know yourself. Get an identity. Be secure. So this will take time, obviously, but you will be able to share what processes God had put you through to produce who you are now. You might be before you're even dating. Let God reveal to you who you really are. Your personality. Do you even know what your personality is? Like, we all think we know, but when you ask your friends, what do you think of me? What's the impression I give off? They might give you something entirely different. Surprise, surprise. So let God tell you these things. And when you've gone through certain trials in your life by the Lord's side, and you've been tested by various things, and you've come out of those tests having passed, girls would like to hear that. When that's not something that you don't share. You don't share the sins that you've committed, because listen, that's not attractive at all. So you don't talk about that when you're dating. Maybe when you're further along in the relationship, towards when you're already engaged, you begin to say certain more intimate things. Be honest with your soul and not your body. Are you dating because you want a sex buddy? Like, really? Sometimes I've met guys who've been like, oh, I love her so much, I just want to be with her. And when I hear that, I'm like, oh, you schmuck. Like, I just hear that, and I'm like, when you say you want to be with her, I know what you're trying to say. No, you don't understand. I just love her so much. I just want to get... No, bro. Listen, I have a penis too. I know what you're trying to say. Like, just be honest with yourself, because chemically, like, when you get that high, those those pheromones start getting you intoxicated. You're apt to do anything. But chemicals are just chemicals. Chemicals don't suffer the consequences. You do. You suffer the consequences. So you need to be sober-minded and ask yourself, all right, why do you want to date? I mean, it's normal to want to date just to have a good time and, be a blessing to a young lady. Take a young lady out for not a drink, but like for maybe a drive around town, maybe go to a park, maybe see a movie, I don't know, do something. And that's cool. Be a positive factor in that young lady's life. That's cool. But be honest with yourself. Are you just trying to get out what is like bubbling inside of you? Or are you actually at a point in your life where you've reached a certain plateau, where you're financially stable, where you're relatively financially stable, and you have a career, you've reached certain goals, and you can say, wow, okay, I want to share my life with someone. So be honest with yourself, be honest with your soul, and not with your body. Your body will trick you, bro. Definitely. Because I've heard very pathetic, I'm going to marry her anyways. You don't even understand. I'm like, just shut up. Like you're not fooling anybody. Like that personality where you're just trying to be the star-crossed lovers. Listen, get it on my face. Learn how to handle a real relationship. This whole Taylor Swift thing too, of just, you're not able to hold on to a relationship. You're probably not able to hold on to a relationship probably because you want to write more songs. Like, be serious about it. Get some conviction. Where's the integrity? I want to date this person because I'm attracted to this person and I want to get to know this person more. Cool. Fine. There you go. So clean up. The next one, clean up, look good, have a style distinct to yourself. However, at the same time, don't be off-putting. Don't think that you can wear like the most dragon, like flame dragon silk like silk button downs with like, I don't know, like just like super emo hair and like Janko jeans, if those are still around. I don't even know. Look good. Would you want to date your like have a certain look that is, that is very generic, but distinct to yourself. You don't want to be so ostentatious, braggadocious with your appearance. Have a look, definitely have a style, but don't try to be so. I'm independent. I'm different. Just be cool, just like Bruce Lee, be water. Everybody needs water. Be water. Water will fit in any container that you put it in. Be water. There you go. Some Bruce Lee things right there. Get your schooling in order, get your career set, have a distinct dream, clean up in that regard. Get certain things prepared if you're trying to get into if you're trying to enter the dating scene, because you got to have something to present, guys. If a girl asks you, well, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? Well, I'm just sitting at home playing video games. That's not cool, bro. Also, if you're if you still dress like a kid, then what more do you expect? You're going to be treated like a kid. Act your age, or, dress for the job that you want. Those kind of stereotypes. But listen, mature up. Nobody, even teenage girls, don't want to date another teenage boy who's immature. So there you go, guys. Group dates are fun and great for practice. Let me let you know. Practice. You can practice your conversation. You don't want to bogart an entire conversation. If everybody in the group is talking about, everybody in a group is talking about music, don't try to list your entire playlist, and don't dog somebody. Your music, what you like stinks. You think that's a good look on you when you're just like downing everybody? No. What is a good look if people are talking about music? Well, what do you like? Oh man, you like these people? Why do you like them? Could you tell me why you like them? You fan their flame. When you fan their flame, you're also becoming more. You look like you're being more interested, and by looking more interested in someone, girls might find you more interesting because you're asking someone else about what they like. It's great place, relationships, group dates, group hangouts. They're great for practice. I've had that. I've had a friend tell me, they were like, Geizi, the electrician at Outlet Podcast. They're like, Geizi, you're a social chameleon. I'm like, what is that? They were like, for some reason, you can fit into any conversation, and you just fit in. Like you change your colors, and you just fit in. And I'm like, well, I guess it's a gift, but it's actually you genuinely finding interest in other people. So, you can practice your cordial behavior, hold the door for some people, excuse me, pardon me, I got to take this phone call. Don't take the phone call. Don't be on your phone. If you're in that moment, be in that moment. Don't be distracted. It's very, no one can look at you when you're looking down. You can familiarize yourself with the ebb and flow of a night's activities. You can see, okay, there's a peak, and we're all going out. We're all going out. We're all going to meet up. The second you all meet up and you see everybody, hey, how you doing? That energy kicks in. You know what I'm saying? That is what is stimulating. You can see that electricity. You follow that current. Okay, the night is kind of dying down. Maybe one more pop. Maybe if we go out to Dave and Buster's and whatever, for maybe like an hour and a half, you can judge certain things. It's pretty cool. One of the other issues, let's see. The last one is be a virgin. What? Yeah, be a virgin. When I say be a virgin, I mean it actually in both ways. Abstaining from fornication gives more meaning to the words I love you. Even if you're dating, even in the dating world, you might not exchange the words I love you in the beginning, in the first date, or the fourth date, or the eighth date. But when you abstain from fornication, there's a meaning to it. You're putting your convictions towards one person, and you're putting that person on a pedestal because you're like, I love you. I want to let you know that, all of my intentions are towards you. Abstaining from fornication, it's really important in as far as your well-being, as far as your soul, your well-being as far as your body, your well-being as far as your conscience. Some people have given themselves away so much that they have a very poor self-esteem. And had they not have shared themselves so much, they might have had their self-esteem, they might have been encouraged a little. When a nice guy did come around and would have said, you look really lovely today, they might have accepted that. So I think abstaining from fornication, it means a lot. So, be a virgin. Now, that's in the physical body sense. But here also, when you go out on dates, either of you, when you go out on dates where either both of you or only one of you have partaken in an activity. So it's pretty cool. My wife, when we were dating, she took me we went on roller coasters. We did the slingshot. We did these crazy things that I would never do again in my life, but I did it because I was trying to impress her. So yeah, I tried foods with her that I would never have eaten in my own life. And we've gone to pretty cool restaurants, and she has had food that she's never had. So we're sharing experiences, and when new experiences between two people, they create chemistry and establish a sort of bedrock or monument between two people. So when you are virginal with your certain experiences in life, that girl hasn't gone laser tag? Well, go laser tag. She'll love it. Now, do something she would like. I don't know if you've never been to pottery. You never made like I don't know. You never done that like painting pottery or whatever. Go do that. you're both sharing new experiences with one another. You create a chemistry. So the last thing in that same aspect of being a virgin is focus on the girl you're with and not the one that just walked by. Now, because there are many people who are going to be like, the grass is greener on the other side. You don't know that. You will never know that. You can continue living your life as if you're always looking for the next best thing. Now, I've dated a number of girls in my life, and I can safely say that I've learned from every relationship that I've been in a little bit about my taste and a little bit about myself. And when I found my wife, when I found the woman who would be my wife, I didn't know that, obviously, but I decided to put all my eggs in one basket. There are still girls that were shining in their beauty. And obviously you can't stop the shining. Can you, ladies? Can't stop the shining. So, but because I'd prayed about it, this person, my wife, because I prayed about her, for her health, for her well-being, because I prayed for her, because I thought about her, I was like, well, I'm not gonna, I remember even talking to God. I was like, God, I'm gonna just be faithful to what I've been praying to you about, and I'm not going to, just put away. I'm not gonna just bastardize what I was lifting up to you all this time. I was like, I'm gonna stick with it, and I did stick with it, and yeah, man, almost 2 years of holy matrimony. We both were virgins, and that was awesome. And that's what I hope that for you too. If you are dating, if you're interested in dating, then get to know yourself first. Put God first, because you might be interested in whatever, but that doesn't mean that you might need to be purified. You might have to clean up. And God is the perfect person to clean you up. So yeah, everybody, check it out. Let's put that in the background. You guys can listen to me you can listen to me here on the Outlet Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at outletpodcast.com or at Outlet Podcast, Facebook.com/Outlet Podcast, YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Stitcher. Find me. I'm on outletpodcast.com. On my WordPress blog, outletpodcast.wordpress.com. So everybody, it's been a distinct pleasure, and I hope you catch me for the next episode. You are listening to the Outlet Podcast. Connect and recharge.